The attack on Mers El Kébir on the 3rd of July 1940 was part of Operation Catapult, a British naval attack on French Navy ships at the naval base at Mers El Kébir on the coast of French Algeria. The bombardment killed 1,297 French servicemen, sank a battleship, and damaged 5 other ships, with a British loss of 5 aircraft shot down and 2 crew members killed. Why did Britain attack the French fleet? That in a moment. But first, welcome to World's Worst Maritime Disasters, the channel that chronicles disasters at sea. I'm Allan Stokell. The attack by air and sea on Mers El Kébir was conducted by the Royal Navy after France signed an armistice with Germany and Italy, known as the Axis powers, that came into effect on the 25th of June. This meant that the ships of the French Navy could easily fall into Axis hands. Of particular significance to the British were the 5 battleships of the Bretagne and Richelieu classes and the 2 fast battleships of the Dunkirk class. These were the second largest force of war vessels in Europe after the Royal Navy itself. The British War Cabinet feared that these ships would be taken by the enemy and used against Allied forces. Britain's Prime Minister Winston Churchill knew that the French warships could not be allowed to fall into the hands of the Axis powers. If Germany and Italy could add these ships to their existing naval force, Britain would face an overwhelming threat that could not be stopped. With Britain's command of the seas in jeopardy, the British Isles could be cut from the rest of the empire, and the vital Atlantic supply routes would be too dangerous to risk. In addition, the waters around the British Isles could become easy access for German invasion forces, especially since the Republic of Ireland insisted that being neutral included allowing Axis vessels into their ports. In dealing with the French fleet issue, Churchill at first used tactful diplomacy and then friendly persuasion. Finally, Churchill requested that the French immediately sail their ships to the safety of British ports and to hand them over. That message may have been code for an attack is imminent. At any rate, the French ignored the warning and never informed their troops that an attack was likely. The French government of Prime Minister Paul Rénaud and later the replacement Vichy regime of Marshal Philippe Pétain refused. Britain's general distrust of French intentions was heightened on June 20th when Pétain violated a no separate peace agreement arrangement with Britain and concluded the armistice with Germany. Admiral François Dartin, commander of the French Navy, had already promised the British that the fleet would remain under French control, but Churchill and the War Cabinet would not budge and felt that the fleet was too powerful to be allowed to be taken over by the Axis. The French thought they were acting honorably in terms of their armistice with Germany and Italy, and were convinced they would never turn over their fleet. I'm unsure why they felt they could trust Adolf Hitler. Hi, I'm Allan Stokell. We just want to spend a couple of seconds talking about Patreon. By you supporting me through Patreon, we can grow Marzipan Productions faster. Each year, the number of boaters declines. We need some grassroots support to get young people and families into boating. Go faster! We'd like to do more stories on all our channels. For instance, on budget boat cruising, we can really get off the dock and show what it's like to cruise on a small boat. On Grampian Marine, we can do more expert work to help maintain those boats ourselves. Even world's worst maritime disasters can use the brass shined and made a little more shipshape. You can start for as little as $1 a month, and that will get you a credit on our next videos. Thank you. Thank you. The British attack was almost universally condemned in France, where grievances festered for years over what they considered a betrayal by their former ally Britain. Marshal Philippe Pétain, who had become the Prime Minister of Vichy France on the 16th of June, severed diplomatic relations with the United Kingdom on the 8th of July. The next day, 6 days after the attack, deputies of the National Assembly met in Vichy, and the following day, Marshal Pétain was installed with full powers as leader of the new French state. Recruitment for the Free France movement, which later formed the resistance, fell dramatically after the attack. In retaliation of the attack at Mers El Kébir, French aircraft raided the British territory of Gibraltar on July 18. French pride had been wounded, and unthinkingly, they were now attacking the country that could and would later liberate them. On 27th of November 1942, after Operation Torch, the Allied invasion of French North Africa began, the remnants of the French Navy foiled Operation Entente, a German and Italian attempt to capture the rest of the French fleet by the scuttling of the fleet in Toulon. This action proved to the British fears were correct. At least to some, the attack on Mers El Kébir remains controversial, and the motives of the British and French are still debated. Many believe that it was a demonstration to the world that the British intended to fight on, unlike the French.